Bobby Whyte. Welcome to Good Drill, your own spot, man.
Yeah, thank you for welcoming me.
Yeah, man, anytime. It's always great to talk basketball with somebody that consumes your content and I consume your content. And, I've been actually on the app. I've been doing the times 20. And it's great because you can kind of mix it up, do different things. But you actually claim you've listened to every Combos Court episode ever. Did you listen to today's episode?
I didn't get today's because I had you come in here in the flesh, and I just wanted to get this out of the way first and then get back to it. But
Okay.
I will. I'll drive home. It's on.
Drive home. That's how you keep in touch with the NBA.
Yeah. Where else am I going to do it?
That's true. That's true. Only Combos Court. All right. We were talking a little bit about problems, right? Problems. And you're the guy that solves the problems when it comes to skill development. What is the biggest problem when it comes to the landscape of skill development these days?
The biggest problem with the landscape of skill development, I think understanding what skill actually is. I think skill trainers, and I'm one of those, so I'm going to bash myself in this, have become such a popular thing that skill training has come down to crossing over cones, working on your through the legs dribble, behind the back dribble, working on your jump shot, your form, and your mechanics. But skill to me is how you perform in the performance, in the game, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm developing somebody, I'm not trying to develop them in a way that they get good at training. I'm trying to develop them in a way where they can actually perform in the game with refs, with crowds, with nerves, with you might be getting subbed out if you dribble the ball off your foot, right? It's a high pressure, high stakes situation. The best athletes are able to handle those high pressure, high stakes situations. The worst ones, I have kids come in that I can tell they've been repping out their handle work. They've been dribbling around cones. They've been doing all this. And then we go and play 3-on-3. And I'm like, he's doing nothing. He's doing nothing. So, right, I could just say, I don't even have to guard
Not
him.
good.
Most high school players, now the elite ones are different. Most high school players, all I have to do to guard them is step back 5 feet. Most of them. I'm talking about even high school varsity players. They get the ball. We're playing one-on-one. I'll step back 5 feet from them, and I shatter their confidence just by stepping back 5 feet. Now he's second-guessing his shot. Yeah. Now he's thinking about it. And he'll go 1 for 9, 1 for 8. He'll try to drive on me. I'm not even guarding him. This happens with high school varsity players. Why?
This happens at every level. We've seen them do this to Ben Simmons at the NBA level.
What do they do to him? Right? He's no longer just stepping up shooting. He's thinking about his shot. And as long as he's thinking about his mechanics or this extra time, you see the NBA games all the time, right? Wide open shot. They take their second, right? Shrug their shoulders a little bit, shoot, miss it. Why?
Trae Young got some
because I'll just use Steph Curry here. Think about Steph Curry, boom, out of his hand. There is no thought. He's catching that ball. It's going up. That shot happened before he even caught the ball. Right? He's hunting opportunities. He's looking for opportunities. And every time that ball comes out of his hand, he knows that ball's going in. And guess what? He misses, the next one's going in. There is no effect. Now, when we look at training landscape in the gym, how are we training that? How are we working on that? The ability to play in the circumstances that we see when we actually play. And I think that's been removed from a lot of skill training. And it's become more sets, reps, and there's not as much of that, the human element involved.
Yeah, I think there's the skill component of things, and then there's the decision when to use that skill intuitively.
So that's the thing. I watch basketball all the time. I watch good high school basketball, bad high school basketball. I watch college basketball. I watch pro basketball, right? And it's like, these moves are not premeditated. These guys are out there. They're in a flow, 100%. Right? Now, they might have certain cadences they draw on, KD into his flow, Harden step back. They have these things that they know work, but they're in tune with the game, right? It's not like we talk about perception action, right? What they're doing is dependent on what they're perceiving from the defense, what they're seeing. A good guard will be able to see that second that the big help side turns his head, right, to be able to hit that pass or drive, right? Lesser players, they're not taking in the same amount of information, right, that elite players take in. Lesser players are typically focused on the person in front of them, what they're doing with the ball, how they're shooting it, and they have a narrow focus, right? They're very tight and narrowly focused on what's in front of them. Players with vision, players that play at the top level, they're taking in all this information that allows them to make the decisions they make. But it's like
I can make the argument you're not a player at all if you're only playing against the person in front of you.
Right, think about that. If I'm looking at you right here and you're guarding me and I'm focused on you, I'm not seeing anything else. But simply lifting up a little bit, taking my vision, right, broadening my vision, right?
On both sides of the floor when it comes to
both sides,
defense.
100%. The average players are a second behind the play. Bad players are 3 seconds behind the play. Good players are even with the play. The best players are 3 seconds ahead of the play. right?
Yeah.
Even on defense, before that ball shifts, they're moving, right? And they actually cover less space. You'll see that the best players in the world move less.
Right.
Now, you'll argue Steph Curry running around like crazy. That's a different situation.
Yeah.
But most players are very efficient with their movement and actually move less.
Yeah. And when it comes to actually playing basketball, how important is that? Kind of mixing that in with the skill development, the physical development. How do you think one should balance all of that? Because I feel like, a lot of players in this country are becoming better at skill, but they're not necessarily becoming better at the game of basketball.
Yeah, which is the only thing that matters.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's crazy in the social media era. It might look good just to be good in a drill, right?
That's true. I can't argue that, right? If you want to be good in it, that you can make money now being terrible at basketball and highly skilled or have bounce.
It's crazy. You could actually make if you could make one good play and you have a bag and you could get a shot up, you could look really good on Instagram and look like a basketball player, but not actually be good at basketball.
Yeah, and crush it.
Yeah, yeah.
They can crush it.
Yeah.
See it all the time.
And it's interesting because those guys will come into the gym with their cameraman and they'll just mess up the whole run going ISO and just trying to focus on those few clips for the gram, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2024. Let's go. It's good. We do how we bridge that gap. Now, I don't have a lot of beginners. They don't come in my gym. I feel like with my skill set, with my intensity, who I am as a person, I'm not best served working with kids that have never played basketball before. Right? There's nothing wrong with it, and they're not trying to downplay that whatsoever. I love bringing players to the highest level, and I want to keep pushing them. What feeds me is believing in kids more than they believe in themselves. And really they believe that their ceiling is here, and I want to freaking bash through that ceiling and show them that they're capable more than they ever imagined. That's what really feeds me, right? So I think that just my type of personality and who I am, we have most players we train are going to play in college basketball, right? So that's saying, but if you stink, it's go do the cone work, go dribble with you. There's Mikins are fine if you stink at Mikins, but at some point, doing this underneath the basket, Mikins for 2 minutes, forward, revert, this, that. It's what is that doing? In my opinion, if it's doing anything, it's burning some calories. That's not developing skill anymore once you have it. There needs to be a challenge present. We say we want the challenge 4% higher than their current skill level, right? And that's actually a big trigger for flow. So there's a guy, Stephen Kotler, wrote a book, Art of Impossible.
100% read it.
All right, Flow Research, Flow Collective, I believe it's
Yeah.
called, and he talks about flow. One of the biggest triggers is the challenge skills ratio, where the challenge is above the level of the current athlete's skill level.
Yeah.
So we want to always present that challenge. We call it bringing athletes to the edge of their ability. So once we got something, we move on. And a lot of the stuff we do now is small-sided games, right? One-on-ones, one-on-twos, creating different situations, modifying this playing space, all this type of stuff where now they're actually immersed in the game, where they have to make decisions, where they have to make reads. And then if we want to get extra handle work in, we'll go one-on-one, but every single dribble has to be through the legs or behind the back. And we can play with constraints like that. So now you're getting your handle working with somebody actually guarding you. And I want to feed, I'll play the boogeyman in my gym, where I can be mean and boisterous and loud, and I might break some kids down. But this kid had already told me that he wants to play Division I basketball. You played at a high level.
What do you say to somebody that says that's toxic?
Huh?
What do you say to somebody that says that's toxic?
Come talk to the families and the kids that I train.
Okay.
And ask them if it's toxic.
Okay.
Right? Because that I'll say whatever I want to say. Talk to the people I have real relationships with, that have been in my gym for years, that have witnessed and been alongside me in this journey. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I want nothing more than to help these kids realize they're more capable than they could ever imagine.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I want to stay on this because if they weren't trying to play Division I basketball, if they were just trying to have fun, if they wanted to
if you were babysitting.
Would I yell at anybody? Would I raise the intensity? Would I deliver hard truths? Absolutely not. And if I'm training a 6-year-old right now, right, I'm not trying. This kid just the first goal is they got to love the game, right? If I'm working with somebody, I want them to love the game. And that's where the small-sided games are a lot more fun for kids and engaging anyway than give me 20 reps with your right hand, 20 reps with your left hand, right? So being more creative with the drills, right, is actually good for them. But I'm not going to act the same way with a 7-year-old or even a 12-year-old that just wants to, get in shape, let's say. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be killing this kid. But when a kid tells me that his heart is set and he is driven to be a Division I player, right, I know what it's like at the Division I level. I've been in the practices. I've seen it. I know. Every kid that I have that plays Division I basketball, I tell them how hard it's going to be, right? Oh, yeah, I know it's going to be hard. They come back and they say, Bobby, it's harder than I could have ever imagined. Even the dogs I've trained. I've got some kids that, playing the Big Ten and hard, tough kids, like way tougher than me. And they struggled at the next level in terms of the intensity of the practice and all that.
Yeah. I love the game of basketball, but I don't even believe you have to love it to be great.
No.
Yeah. I think at the top level, the greatest players in the world, players that play in the league, I mean, I think there's a percentage of them that love it and there's a percentage of them that don't.
Would you say that at some level, though, they had to love it at some point?
I think, the guys that maybe get to the top 1% for the most part, probably those guys who separate themselves from everybody else in the league, probably most of those guys love it. But I think out of a lot of the top players that some don't,
Who?
Oh, yeah, you want me to name guys specifically?
No, like who do you think doesn't love the game but excels?
Well, I don't know a lot of these guys personally, but I just being through the ranks, playing with guys that played at the top level, like you could just tell that some of them don't love it,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody has their own way to go about things. I think it's, it helps people's lifestyle. It feeds their families, it gives them generational wealth. I think, some people, there's three type of players in my opinion, right? The ones that don't do enough, the ones that treat it like a profession, they get their work in, they get out, and then the ones who are absolutely obsessed, right? And I think all three of those players make it to different levels because each of them started a different baseline,
Yeah. I don't think love has to be the driving factor. When I was saying I want kids to love the game, because I want them to enjoy it and play it for a long time. So if I'm meeting a kid where he's at, coming in, hasn't played, I want it to be fun initially, and I want them to find love. At some point, you're going to have more than love, right, to excel. You're going to need that obsession. You're going to need that drive. You might need some anger. Like, who knows what – I play a game where I ask kids questions, and I'll be like, you drove – I'll get kids that drive an hour to be at my gym. I'm like – that says something to me. You drove over an hour to get here. You passed 4,000 trainers on the way here, and you came to me, right? That means a lot to me. And I'll tell that to that. Like, that means a lot to me that you would do that.
Right.
And why, right? What are you here for? What's your goal? And I'll break down their goal, and I want it to be something that they can measure, right? I want to play Division I basketball. So now I go into this game.
But it feels like everybody's goal is to make it to the NBA, right?
A lot of people, everyone says that's their goal.
You don't think that's really their goal?
No, I think that's their goal. So this is what I want to do. So let me go with this. So, right, yeah, you're right. I want to play. I want to make it to the league, right? I want to be one and done.
Yeah. We're being real here. I mean, that's what everybody wants to do.
Yeah. All right. So then I paint this picture for them. Before I get into this picture, though, I say, what's important to you about that, right? And they're going to be like, I want to make money. Or what's important to you? And I'll just follow up. What's important about making money? I want to buy my mom a house someday. Something like that. You get a kid like that wakes up with that incentive and it's right on the top of their head, they're willing to put in work, right? Think about that. A kid that wakes up that thinks that basketball is the means to an end for his family and getting his family out of wherever he's currently at, getting the ability to buy his mom a house someday, that driving force, right? And you'll see that. I'll see that comment with if I'm working with a McDonald's All-American D1 kids. You ask what's important about basketball. It's always something at that level where they wake up every day fully aware of why they're playing. You take a suburban kid or you take somebody that, cushy lifestyle that doesn't have it and you say what's important to basketball, it's a lot harder to get to why they're actually playing.
I don't know. I might have to disagree because I feel like there's people in different lifestyles that some of them are super obsessed, even if they come from, a suburban area. And then there's some people that don't.
So I'm not saying that it's the only make or break. I'm saying a lot of the people that make it to a high level have that. I'm saying now, if you don't have that level, let's say you don't have to worry about buying your mom a house someday. You don't have to worry about taking your kid. What is motivating you? And that's what I want to get to.
Like, because a lot of the kids who play in the NBA now, not kids, men, they came from parents who were in the league that had some money already. Yeah. I mean, I remember hearing that Bill Laimbeer was super wealthy growing up. He had the fire more than anybody. He had more fire than anybody else, know?
And he had an older brother who kicked the crap out of him.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, but there's always something like that. You could watch the 30 for 30 on Bill Laimbeer. His older brother beat the crap out of him continually.
Yeah.
Right. And you grew up in an environment. So that's what I'm trying to look at, the environment that's raising these kids. Right. And that's what I'm really obsessed with, is seeing like what produces these great athletes and how I can play some type of role in giving them because it's not just a skill training, right? There's more to it. How do we cultivate that obsession? How do we cultivate these things that are going to grow these athletes to the level they want to play at and build that around them?
Do you think you could be a great trainer these days without creating media around what you do?
100%.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm a social media trainer now, and I'm not going to deny that, right? I'm not, right? I am a social media trainer now. The 10 years prior, I was running a gym. I'm still running a gym. And it's like, I was successful before I started posting 2 years ago. And what I'm proud of, if anything, is that my gym if I walk in my gym now, the relationships I have with my trainers, my staff, the kids that come in my door, the parents of the kids is exactly the same as it was 3 years ago before I started posting content. And that's cool to me. But it means nothing. For me, it's a metric. Not that it does mean something.
It means something on the business
yeah,
side.
that's
of
what I'm saying.
things.
So what it means to me, it's a metric for the business.
Yeah.
The following. It's a lever that I cranked on.
Yeah.
That I found out when I started posting 6 times a day, whatever I was doing, I found out that I could control that variable.
Yeah.
I had a knack for it. I whatever it was.
Yeah. Are you going to get to a point where there's somebody following you around with the camera all day?
I hope no. You're going to see me disappear one day. I'm going to completely disappear and be off the grid. Huh?
Why?
That's what I want to be in the woods, enjoying my family. Like I'm a big outdoorsman, hunting. I like nature. I like being out there, which is so funny that I do this now. I have the studio here, right? But it's all to get to that. I think if I do what I think I can do, it's like a 5-10 year plan, and I'm not doing content anymore. I'm not on social media, and because what feeds me is like real relationships, serving kids one-on-one. I want to have a normal life, right? But that normal life isn't going to get me, the life I want for my family, to be able to provide for them.
Do you feel like social media has been detrimental to the landscape of skill development? Because everything's bite-sized, and often the things that work on social media aren't the simple stuff that really creates great basketball players from a foundational level.
How would it be detrimental? So your kids are taking in the wrong information?
Well, they might be starting with something that isn't a good foundation, right? Like the stuff that's going to do well on social media is the eye-popping stuff. But, to be great, you have to keep working consistently on the simple stuff. Even things like moving without the basketball, playing without the basketball. You never see drills of people playing without the basketball on social media.
No, why would you post that? It doesn't do anything.
But that's, 95% of the time you won't have the basketball, right, when you're playing basketball.
Yeah, but because social media is like that, does that mean anything outside of social media changed? I mean, they still have the same. So I wouldn't call it detrimental. It's just different. Like I would hope that stuff is still it's taught in my gym. I don't post it, but I'm teaching defense. I'm teaching my gym is, and we're teaching all that in my gym.
Yeah.
Just because I don't post it doesn't mean I'm not teaching it. So I don't know. If I can give them what they want initially on social media, right? The quick hitters, the stuff, whatever. It might be eye-popping, hard take, whatever it is. But I know at the back end of that, I'm going to end up giving them something they need. I'm willing to do that, right? I can play the game on social media and put out short-form content because I am 100% confident in the program I have behind it. So if I have to sell them what they want and give them what they need, I'll do that because I know what I'm giving them on the app, as you mentioned before, with that stuff. You do it, you're going to get better. No doubt in my mind. And as long as I have a product like that if kids do it, they're going to get better, right? I'm willing to play the game.
Yeah. Speaking of playing the game, I feel like 90% of what I see skill development trainers working on has been influenced by Kyrie Irving and James Harden. But it's interesting, to make the NBA, you probably have to play like the other 90% of the players because those are the players that fit around the stars, and there's only about 30 players with the basketball in their hands.
So what do you do about that?
Oh, man. What do you think?
It's not my job.
It's not your job.
Right. I don't coach a team right now. Right. My job is to get these players, right? They come into me, like we talked about. I want to know what their dream is. I want to know where they're trying to go. Right. I'm not X's and O's. I'm not play calling. Now, that doesn't mean we're not playing games where they're learning how to set screens and roll. And that's like we play a lot. We play a lot of 3-on-3s. We play a lot of pickup where I'm not coaching much and just kids are missing free play. All the
100%.
The live season now is 8 months. These kids go from their winter high school basketball to spring AAU to now they have a summer high school live session. Then they go to summer AAU. Then they go to fall ball. Right? They are playing with teams the entire year.
It's interesting because are you saying that players are playing too much or they're not playing enough when it comes to... Tell me more.
Both.
Tell me more.
Everything is paid.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Everything. These kids are dry. They're how much time? Then the kids at the top, the EYBL, the sneaker circuit kids, they're gonna go do that. They should be doing that.
Right.
But the other kids need a ball in their hand more, right? They need to play more, right? Because if you're not one of those guys, and now you're traveling all over the country, going to 7 games here, how much development happened in that game? They should be playing 100%, and they should be playing AAU. But it's too much. They also need time to develop their game. Small 3-on-3s, 1-on-1 stuff, learning different actions, how to space the floor, things like that, because you're not learning that in the game. And with AAU, even the best AAU programs, how many practices you get in a week? Right? Where is this stuff being taught? There are some very good ones that do it, but the majority, no, they're not doing that. They're not instilling.
You know what's interesting? So basically what you're saying is the top kids are probably playing too much, and the kids that aren't as good probably aren't playing enough.
Right. Well, they're playing. They're part of the team. But are they getting any meaningful reps in those games?
Right.
Right. How much of the time are they sitting on the bench, or how much of the time are they, running down to the corner?
Yeah.
Like, where are they developing in that? And now you're gone for a 3-day weekend to Georgia or wherever it is. Right. What if you stayed home and played some pickup?
Yeah, I think there has to be more of that. And, you talk about how you play 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3. That's what they do in Europe. And we're seeing that this year's draft, the top 2 players were from overseas. 4 out of the top first-team All-NBA players were from overseas. And we're seeing more and more overseas players playing in the league. And I don't know, man, it's becoming a problem for the States, in my opinion. Like, we got to take back the reins, Bobby. We got to take back the reins, man.
I'm trying. I'm trying here. I post good drills.
So yeah, I mean, it got to be you, but it also got to be everybody else. So what would be your advice to other trainers and other coaches?
In terms of what?
In terms of getting us back to where we have the best of the best in the NBA, how we are getting our USA teams from every level to the top of the top, Like, how do we get back to where we were?
I think we need to start looking at the environment as a whole. And skill development, we look at the player and we're going to input these skills to this player. But it is not you don't play the game by yourself on the court, right? You're part of an organism, offense, defense. This is a moving organism that has flow, and the best players understand that flow. So we have to shift to a way that gets players understanding the flow of the game. Understanding the game, the perception action piece, understanding where to be, and all this type of stuff. And that can't happen dribbling the ball around cones, right? It's got to be more so. It's got to be giving them more problems to figure out, right? I want to give them problems. I want to present them challenges. I want to gamify the training experience where now they're no longer thinking about, if I get them in a competitive thing right off the bat, they come in the gym and the first thing, and it could be racing, it could be any type of competition, right, is going to feed that more than I need 1,000 reps today, right? And I think it's getting players on that continuum where they're learning how to play the game and not as much do it this way because I said it.
Yeah, I think a good skill development session is like a good podcast. There needs to be a balance of creativity and structure.
Yeah, how am I doing?
Doing good. Got to slow down a little bit.
I talk fast?
You talk fast. It could be the coffee.
Hey, dude,
it's good coffee, though.
Yeah.
It's good coffee.
I'll slow down now.
So you know a lot of college basketball players, right? And I'm sure you're familiar with what those programs are doing with their players. And I've talked about how there's an over skill development culture in our country, but I actually believe at the college level there's not enough skill development.
Yeah, it's going to shift. It's shifting because the science points to the shift.
Okay.
And we're always going to be 10 years behind the science, right? But right now it is shifting. You're seeing it. You'll see it first in the European countries, how they approach development, and now you're going to start seeing it in the D1 programs. There's some guys out there that are pioneering this approach. You can look up ecological dynamics or the constraints-led approach of skill acquisition, and you're going to see a shift. There's some clips that went of how the Boston Celtics are training now, right? And rather than perfect sets and reps, you got the skill guys at the Boston Celtics throwing bad passes, lobs off their foot, all that type of stuff. Bringing that chaos to
stuff
training.
You've been doing for 10 years.
Since I was born.
At good drill.
Since I was born.
At good drill.
Yeah. I invented basketball training. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, because at the college level, especially when we were playing, you're saying it might be a little bit less now. I think, it was a lot of line sprints going on, meaningless conditioning. There's probably a point of diminishing return. And I love those programs that blend the skill development with the conditioning and the playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. I get asked all the time, like, how I'm out of shape. Go play basketball. Go play basketball, right? Go play basketball. Well, should I run my? No, go play. That's the best thing you can do to get in shape for basketball is basketball. And that principle there, we call it doing the thing. You can call it the principle of specificity. We call it doing the thing. And that can be applied to literally anything. You want to get better at jumping? What do we got to do, Combo?
Jump.
Wow.
I'm smart.
Right? You want to get faster? What do you want to do?
Sprint.
So, right?
Keep going.
That's it. I could go on for days. You want to get better at dribbling?
Dribble the ball.
That's the whole.
Everywhere you go. That's a good thing. Just dribble the ball everywhere you go.
That's what I did. I went on vacation. I took the kids. We have a Discord community. We do live calls. I'm going on vacation. What should I do? I'm like, I'm not gonna have access to basketball. I'm like, can you bring a basketball? And they're like,
you know, I've had God Sham got on the show, Skip, Ed Coda, and I think all three of them said like, yeah, I just dribbled my basketball.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Skip that would dribble in front of the mirror?
I forgot but he definitely said like I just dribbled my ball wherever I went. I was like that, like I used to dribble through the streets, you know, around people, even though I wouldn't recommend that to everybody because you might bother some people out there. I don't want anybody to get in trouble, but you know, yeah.
I'll never the Slam Magazine, Baron Davis cover. He would dribble the ball through his legs every single step, all the way to school and all the way home from school. If he messed up, he would start over.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna get good at dribbling if you do stuff like that. That's the whole good drill thing, by the way. It's like the drills aren't that important. You want to get better. Like there's 100 different ways, 1,000 different ways you can get better at dribbling.
Yeah.
Consistency throughout is your dribbling.
Yeah. I think it's important. I think Jamal Crawford came out and said there's like, he was basically talking about how all these trainers are charging this amount of money and this and that, and you know, just be careful who you work with because you know it's not about the. You know, he was kind of speaking to that a little bit. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah. So what was he saying exactly?
He's saying you're getting a one-on-one session with a trainer, right? And you're working on these moves, and you're getting your feedback from a one-on-one trainer rather than going out and creating your own story, right? You're letting somebody create your story for you. I'm putting this in my own words, but what I took from that is he's seeing too many players, right, getting told how to do everything, right? You're becoming dependent on the trainer, right? We should not be dependent on the trainer. I can't hold my player's hand when they're competing. I can't help them when they're competing, right? So they need to take ownership over their training. They need to go out and figure it out. They need to try things. They need to fail. They need to find their own creativity. The top players all play the game. They have commonalities between them, but they have different ways that they go about it, right? They have different nuances to their game that they didn't just, Kobe copied MJ and this guy copied that guy, but they all also have their own way of doing things and their own flair and stylistic stuff.
Yeah. It kind of makes me think about artificial intelligence for some reason because I think artificial intelligence and human intelligence equals enhanced intelligence, and we cannot let AI control us. We got to control AI and let it help us.
Yeah, I try to stay all. I got Gabe that does AI. I don't.
You don't mess with AI? So you don't use ChatGPT?
I don't. We use it a lot. We use it. Gabe uses it for literally everything.
How's that going?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I started paying for it.
Yeah, because they try and cut you off early. You know, it's getting better and better too. Remember when they were saying that, like, oh, we can't find any information before 2021, and now like you could it got so much better too.
So it's just getting better, and it's like learning what I want.
Yeah.
So I ask certain questions, and it's just like it gives me. I used to be very specific. Now I don't have to be specific.
Yeah.
It just remembers as I go in, and it tells me. It's like, oh, noted, learned, or something.
It's learning every day, really. Are you scared about it? For the future of society?
No, I kind of feel it right now. I feel like it's a tool.
Definitely a tool.
You know, so like to me, like we as humans, we've always used tools, you know, to like make things happen quicker and faster, whatever. I think it's beneficial, but if it actually truly became AI, like artificial intelligence, where it could like, you know, think like a being, you know what I mean?
It's getting there.
I know. If that is kind of scary.
Yeah. Speaking of tools. Pause. No, I want to shift to strength development, and how do you blend that within a season, in the off season? Does that look the same? Like, what are your overarching thoughts on strength development when it comes to basketball?
Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
That's why you like the 20 times 1, right?
1 by 20.
1 by 20.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not training weightlifters. I'm not training Olympic weightlifters. I'm not training track athletes. I'm training a team sport athletes. And the majority of athletes that walk into my gym have a very, very low training age, usually close to 0, right?
Really?
And
So they don't try and learn on their own?
not if they so that would still be close to 0. They've done some bicep curls in the mirror,
I
right?
like the bicep curls though. It's beneficial.
There's
Yeah.
no bad exercises. Yeah.
Unless it's one that could hurt you.
Correct. but that could be any exercise, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. But I keep it very simple, right? You want it where I don't look at even strength training as the exercises. I'm looking at the stress involved and the adaptation that's going to come from that stress. So what I'm trying to do, and what I've found with basketball players especially, right? There is so much change of direction. And especially the way we train athletes, because we have a lot of athleticism blended into our skill development. A lot of the ability to play low, getting shifty, change of direction, jumping ability, speed. A lot of that is hit, right, with our basketball training. So just by getting them stronger, right, and kind of giving them a bigger motor with strength development, right, and keeping it very, very simple pays huge dividends for other aspects. I don't need to get specific in the weight room to basketball. We keep it really general, right, which is, basic stuff, pushes, pulls, squats, lunges, right? We've got some, other stuff that we do, but it's very, very simple. I tell everybody that's like, what should I do for strength training? I'm like, go find a simple strength training program, one that says it's going to get you stronger, right? And you're going to follow that for 4 to 6 weeks. Before that 4 to 6 weeks, if your goal is to get a couple inches on your vert, right? Measure your vert, go strength train for 4 to 6 weeks. At the end of 4 to 6 weeks, remeasure your vert, right? If it went up, stick with it. Just keep going, right? That's like the stability and everything. Where basketball is complex and chaotic and there's a lot going on, we keep strength as like the stability within our programming, where our goal is to get stronger and we're constantly monitoring, right? Whether they're jumping higher, getting faster. We have different metrics we're looking at along the way. And as long as they're going up, we keep going. If you're going to stagnate at some point, right? You're going to plateau, right? Then we'll mix it up. And there's 100 different ways that you can do it. That's why we have 6 phases in our program of strength training, and they're all different, but they're all like I've taken them from top strength guys in they're not complicated. It's simple strength training.
Yeah, I think how strength development affects skill development is really important, because sometimes you try and prompt someone to do a certain thing and they just can't do it because they haven't done enough in the weight room yet or with their strength development. Like you speak about getting low. If you're not flexible enough, I don't know how much you could tell somebody to get low. They probably just won't be able to get low.
A lot of times getting low is a strength issue. They don't have the ability to withstand those forces in that low position. So you're at a 90-degree or lower joint angle, right, with your legs. Like
isometric's probably great for this, right?
Yeah. Holding a low position for a long time. Strength training through full range of motion.
Which is really tough and most people don't want to do. That's the thing. It's like the hard stuff that matters.
Hoopers want to hoop.
Right.
That's why I try to like get in and out, like quick and dirty. Like we're going to get in, we're going to go intense strength training, 20, 30 minutes, and then let them do the thing that they want to do.
So are you when you're training a kid and you're saying they can't get low, there's not much you could do within that moment. You got to talk to them after, like this is what you have to do in the weight room or with the strength development.
We do it on the court too. So that's a lot of the stuff. We talk about athletic posture a lot, and I have a lot of different things I do to get athletes playing lower, and not just yelling at them to play lower, but actually teaching them how to play lower and how to move in a squatted position with their shins roll into the floor and all the different stuff we do. So we do both. It's happening on the floor, right? And then it's also happening in the weight room.
Yeah. I think everyone from basketball players to human beings who don't play basketball, they feel like you have to do like 2 hours or 3 hours, but really you could get so much better at something doing it 10 to 15 minutes a day, and often that leads to more because you at some point like to do it, like you'll enjoy it at some point and see the results from it and want to get better at it.
Yeah. No, you'll see a lot of the D1 programs and NBA guys now are doing what's called microdosing, and they're getting
100%.
10-minute workouts.
The guy from the Phoenix Suns, right, is big on that.
He's with Detroit now. Shout out Corey Schlesinger.
Oh, yeah. Shouts to him. Yeah. It's funny because I microdose all the time. Like, I'll do like a quick calisthenics workout outside. I did this morning, a few pull-ups, few inverted rows. It's amazing. That all that stuff adds up over time.
It's tough with my population because they're kids, and it's like I'm getting them for an hour, right? And then they go from this to this to this to this, and they're all over the place. Once you get to the Division I level or pro level, this is your job. This is all you have to do, and you can carve out those times throughout the day, after a game, before whatever it is, to get that in. It's tough for kids, especially if they don't have a weight room in their house or something like that.
It's funny, you were telling me before the show how you were playing basketball for 3 hours, and then your back started to hurt. My advice to you would be play 45 minutes, 30 minutes more often, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
There's like a point of diminishing return. It's like when I go to the gym, I try and play like 3 games and I'm out. It minimizes the chance to get injured, knock on wood, wherever the wood is.
Yeah.
And I think you get the most out of it, right? There's just a point of diminishing return with every kind of training at some point. And that's why your friend is into microdosing for his athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we want to. It's measure, work, remeasure, and then you got to be open to it. It's like I used to try to program for my athletes 6 months in advance, and like we can talk about the different modalities and how we were going to progress them through their strength training, trying to hit different qualities throughout the year and this. But then it's like these kids go away for 2 weeks, and they go to this sport, then they got 7 games this week and this. It's like I cannot program for them. I have my ideas and I have my stuff written down, right? My phases of strength work, but we got to do our best with who walks in the gym. And I've got to be able to adapt to what percent. A kid could walk in on Monday feeling great, and that's why we test so much. So we have a kid we have a baseline for their vert, right? Kid's got a 30-inch vert. If he comes in on a Wednesday and it's at 25, that tells me something. He's not ready to go,
Or he's overtraining.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
am I going to pound him with weights and conditioning and this? That's the importance of measuring, right? It gives me one a bit. So we establish a baseline. We can see through continued measuring. He's typically around this, right? It's trending up. But then if he comes in and is less than that, it might be an isometric day.
I love isometrics. I believe that's the missing link because I feel like it's not the end all be all, but it's what transfers the energy from the eccentric to the concentric. And I think athletes don't focus on it enough.
Yeah.
If you think about it, we always learn weights. Like,
Yeah.
we never really, nobody thinks of isometrics when we think of working out.
No, nobody even thinks of eccentric typically. It's all how much can you push?
Well,
how
there
far
has to
can
be
you
an
push?
eccentric if you're doing a concentric at some point,
Well, I
right?
guess there has to be an isometric too.
Yeah, but it's really short.
Yeah,
Yeah,
could be.
yeah.
My point is that there's so many ways to do it, right? And I don't know if there's a
And it's
missing
probably
link,
good to mix it up, right?
but what works for somebody will work for somebody until it doesn't. And then it's the art of coaching comes into, okay, let's problem solve here. This was working. He was trending. He went from a 25 to a 30-inch vert over a course of 3 months, and now he's, plateaued. Now the art of coaching comes in to see, okay, what changes can we make in his weight training program, whether it's load, volume, intensity, frequency, more rest, whatever it is, right? Moving things faster. There's a bunch of different things that we can manipulate with strength training, right, to get different adaptations.
We talked about microdosing strength training. Do you believe an athlete should be worn out after a workout, feel good after a workout? How should an athlete feel after a workout?
That's a tough question because
I only ask the tough questions, Bobby Whyte.
that's a tough question. How should an athlete feel? So many of these answers are, it depends.
It's true.
What I can say is, though, my best basketball players play more basketball than anybody,
Okay.
right? That's consistent. So I want people
But I'm better than a lot of guys in my gym who play a lot more than me.
They played a lot more than you over the course of your career?
No.
Okay. You've had the ball in your hand since what? 7
But
years
those
old?
guys are playing every day, and I don't know. I don't see
What
the
are they playing
improvement.
now? What are they playing?
Yeah, they're playing nonsense.
That's not basketball.
It's not good.
I know you
It's
feel
bad.
good about yourself when you go there, but come on now.
You see the videos.
Yeah. He's dunking on plumbers and whatever.
But yeah, speak to that. Like, how should an athlete feel after? Because I feel like over the course of time, it's probably good for somebody to feel good and happy after a workout, right?
Yeah, there's different buckets we can hit when we're training them. Sometimes we want to push their physical threshold, right? We want to see what they have and give them that physical experience where they push through a level that they didn't know they could push through. Is that what we do all the time? No, but there's a time and a place for pushing somebody very, very hard just to see that you could do more than you were capable of. But now if that's the overarching thing where I'm pounding kids into the freaking ground every time they come in, that's wrong. Do kids get exhausted in my gym? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it every single time? No. And sometimes I read the energy in a room. That's like, I get to choose the energy now, right? Sometimes I'm lighthearted and
I hope it's good energy.
It's always good energy.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Good.
But it's how should they feel? They should feel like they're getting better. Like, did the workout you just did get you closer to your goal? And I think that's a missed point a lot. At some point, there needs to be a level of challenge. So in the beginning, I'm going to go, I've never played basketball before. I want to be able to, I've never played basketball before.
They could aggregate you with that comment.
Yeah.
They could just clip that in.
Take that.
Yeah.
Gabe's AI in that right now. Bobby Whyte
Bobby never played basketball. There you go.
All right. So I've never played basketball, and I want to get good at shooting. And I'm going to go shoot 1,000 reps a day. No defense. I'm going to go to the gym by myself and get 1,000 makes a day shooting, right? In the beginning, there was a challenge present. I've never played basketball. Over some time now, right? There is no longer a challenge present with that 1,000 reps. It becomes part of your routine, right? Did you get better at shooting? Of course. But over time, you're talking about diminishing returns before. Over time, there will be diminishing returns on that. And you're going to
100%.
have to give a new stimulus to your body.
Wow, yeah. And do you feel like, we talk about diminishing returns, do you feel like that's a reason why we should mix up our workouts? I know you're all about keeping it simple, but when you're doing...
I'm not about keeping it simple. I'm going to shut
well, in terms of your strength conditioning programs, you are.
Oh, strength training.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
But like that,
how often should we mix up our workouts? Like,
When
or
you
change
stop-
our routine?
That's why you need to measure. The longer you do things, right, you start to feel like what your body responds well to, and it is more of a feeling. But if you're a novice in the weight room, if you're a novice with strength training, you don't know, right, if you're getting better or not. Just because your bench went up, did that get you closer to your goal of being a good basketball player? And it's like keeping the goal, right? I don't care how much my players bench. Do we see that their bench goes up? I don't care how much my players squat. We do notice that their squat goes up, and we're looking at those numbers. But does that make him a better basketball player? It depends. Like, nobody cares how much LeBron James squats, right? Nobody cares how much Steph Curry benches, right? They're MVPs. They win championships, right? Do they squat and bench press? Yes. So it's understanding like what's important. And I'm getting off topic here. But
No, keep going. I want to hear more
about what?
about what you're talking about.
It comes back to understanding what you're trying to do with that athlete. Where are you trying to take them and leading them, right? We're called trainers. I like to position myself as a guide, right? I want to get out of the way of these athletes, especially the high performers. You give me a freaking kid that's got obsession that wants it. I want to get out of the way of this athlete.
It's hard to guide somebody if you don't know what they did for the whole week. Like, if you see an athlete once a week and you don't know what they did for the other 6 days, it's kind of hard to
So
lead them in a beneficial way, because you're kind of making it about what you want to do and not what the athlete should be doing on that day.
This is what I was talking about before with measuring their vert. During that time, I'm also asking them, how'd you play this weekend? What else did you do? How's your body feeling?
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
What are they presenting to me when they come in the door? I can tell. I've done this for so long now. I can tell by the kid's face how he's feeling. I can see his gait pattern when he's walking in. I'm trying to pick up as much information on these athletes as I
How was
can.
Combo's gate walking in?
Huh? You look good.
Him.
Dude. No,
I'm him.
him.
There
Good
you
him.
go. Good him. No, so I think that's important, because I feel like a lot of times the whole trainer thing, the whole culture around basketball trainers is crazy, because a lot of basketball trainers are making it about them and not the athletes.
Yeah. Which is, I get that it's probably wild me saying this with the amount of followers I have and do this, but like, my goal is I don't want my athletes to need me. I don't want them to rely on me, right? At all. I want them to become self-sufficient athletes that can take
And
charge
then you
of
can
them.
move on to the next, right? And guide the...
No, it becomes more the mental stuff and the relationship aspect of it, which I think is the most important thing, right? Just being a source of truth for these guys. You're going to get to
A source of
everything,
truth. Tell me more about that.
Everything is monetized now, right? Everything is monetized. NIL, it's not even college anymore. Prior to college, right? You're already going to start getting people coming after you for this or that. I want to be somebody, I don't care about any of that stuff with my athletes, which is crazy because I know I'm very active on social media, right? And I want to be somebody that they can trust, that's going to give them honest feedback, whether they want to hear it or not, but I'm not trying to take something from them.
I think it's important in real life to make it all about the athlete, but from a business standpoint, to make it about you in a way on social media, because entertaining the people is so important. I think that balance is actually important for trainers. Like, in real life, be all about the athlete, and on social media, to build your brand, make it somewhat about you.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I started this online thing 2 years ago because I wanted to take the business out of training for myself. I want to train kids because I want to train kids because I love it. It's my passion. I love being that guide and part of their process, right? And I didn't want to scale it as a business because it would force me to do things that weren't me, right? I want to blow this freaking Good Drill app and all this out of the freaking
I use
water.
that app, by the way.
Is it good?
It's great.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm off brand if I say great, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's why I started that. And
Yeah.
that can feed everybody, right? And it's good, but then that can get me back to just focusing on training kids.
Yeah. Everything has a paradox. Like, I feel like, you know, what I just said when it comes to for skill development, even for podcasts, I feel like you have to dumb down the topics, but not dumb down yourself.
Yeah.
Like, if you talk about intricate intellectual topics, there'll be less people that can relate. Do I sound narcissistic?
No, it's the truth.
Yeah.
We call it low IQ content. We are willing.
That's what does best, right?
Me, Ross, what we've done at Good Drill is the lowest form of IQ content. That's what we did. We went as low IQ as possible.
Tell me more about that. How'd you do that?
Nobody cares about know who cares about the science and all the ins and outs? Trainers, coaches. What's my product for? 17-year-old, 16-year-old basketball players. Do you think they care? What do they want? They want to jump higher. They want to score more points. They want to become the man on their team, right? That's what they want, right?
Yeah.
They want all that stuff that comes with being good at basketball, right? So that's what we give them. You can't dribble the ball through your legs, do this. You want bounce, do this. And it's about perceived value,
Yeah.
right? I know that what I put out there, there's some value, but the perceived value is what matters in terms of those posts going or not.
Yeah. So, look, you started training way before you started on the social media journey, right? What advice would you give yourself when you started that journey, knowing what you know now?
I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay.
I'm glad I went to all the certifications. I wanted to become as smart as possible in the beginning. And I put a big value on knowledge and how much I knew, while knowing that it didn't really matter that much as long as I knew more than the person I was training, right? Because that's a scary thing about training.
Well, what's knowing more? You could always
Well, no,
learn
as long as I
something
can-
new from.
What I'm saying is,
Yeah.
as long as I could position myself as somebody that knows more than the person I'm training, you can be successful, right? But I wanted to actually learn,
okay.
right? I wanted to study, right, the human body. I wanted to study the strength training. I wanted to study skill development. I went to certifications all over the country. I've been all over the world training it, and I
You
took.
have. I remember that.
Yeah, I lived all over the place doing this.
You've been on Combos Court?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple times.
What's your favorite part about Combos Court?
That's what I admire the most is just the longevity, because
Okay.
I know how hard that is. What you have done, starting this in 2017 on your cell phone or whenever that was, till now, I've listened to every single episode, and it's just, you do something that 99% of people won't do, right? You took that first step, and then you took another step and another step and another step, and I've seen it transform over this time into now. I remember what your first ones were like to what it is now, and your ability to hold a conversation, get on interesting guests, do this and go back and forth, your ability to communicate. You've stuck with it, and I can't imagine this was like, you started making a ton of money right away, right? This has been a long, long journey. And for somebody to just stay in it that long, you're going to win. Like, to see somebody do that, you're going to win.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's all about staying consistent and finding ways to get better along the way.
Yeah. I'm just going in my head now. I'm going to disregard whatever you just said because I was thinking. But
Go ahead,
it's cool that I knew you before it, right? And
cool.
we were competing in New York City and all the tournaments and doing that. We
Yeah.
had that relationship before it, and now it's 10 years later, and you're sitting in this studio, right? It's like a cool thing.
Yeah, it's funny. We get caught up into the content and what we're doing on the day to day and working on the day to day that we don't. That's probably the things we're gonna look back on when we're older, right?
Dude, we were the only two white dudes out there.
Yeah, yeah, we were. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think stuff like that teaches you a lot.
Yeah. I've had a lot of good moments in my life, family, all this, but I look at that period of my life, I was driving New York City 7 days a week, over the bridge, through the tunnel, right, to Dykeman, West Fort, all the different tournaments. I was like, that was such a special time in my life.
Yeah.
I loved every second of it. I grew as a human. I grew as a man during that time. That was invaluable, right? And it's funny now, it's I never talk about any of that stuff. And it was such an important part of my life.
Yeah. All right. Before we get out of here, what advice would you give to other basketball trainers trying to create media around what they do?
It's a hard one for me, man. That's a good questions. Tough questions.
Good questions.
Yeah, advice. If you're gonna do it, do it. It's got to be. When I put my mind to something, I'm doing it. Right. There's no doubt in my mind. Right. I know where I want to get to. I have an idea. I have goals, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get to those goals. And there's no plan B. I'm not stopping. Right. I started this, and I knew I was going to make it successful. There was zero doubt in my mind. Did I have any idea that it would get to the level it is now? I had zero idea, but I knew I was going to do whatever it takes, and I was going to stay consistent, what we just talked about. I was going to, post 3 times a day, then 4 times a day, then 5 times a day, then 6 times a day. Then I find Ross, and then this, and then this, and it just kind of accumulates over time. But you've got to be plan to dominate and go dominate.
Go dominate.
Yeah.
I love that. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good drill.
Good pod.
Good pod. Good combos court. We're out. Peace.